Green light.
All right. Welcome to Passport Pennsylvania, a podcast about travel and tourism in the great state of Pennsylvania. I'm your host, Nate. Travis, the other host, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited. This was one of the greatest feelings coming off of this episode to think about what we saw with the Mural Arts program at Philadelphia. Just the inspiration of these artists to bring this to us was just so incredible. I really appreciated every bit of it, and I'm looking forward to talking about it today.
Yeah, so in this episode, we, Travis and I, along with our good buddy Jason, we traveled over to Philadelphia to talk to the Mural Arts folks from Mural Arts Philadelphia. And they were so kind to sit down with us and do a real interview in their offices. And then we also took a tour with one of their acclaimed tour guides, Marjorie.
Having the opportunity to get out in the city and walk through the city and look at the murals, it was... I had seen them before, having lived in Philadelphia for numerous years and having the opportunity to see them part of my daily existence, going to and from work, walking back and forth to a restaurant. But this was very intentional in terms of looking at the murals and being thoughtful about them and learning more information about the inspiration behind them and what they bring to the landscape of the city. I was really appreciative of this opportunity that Mural Arts gave us.
I haven't been to Philadelphia in many years. I'm going to say 15 at least. A good friend and I used to go back and forth to Philly during the hockey seasons for the home and home games, Pens and Flyers. And
You sure you didn't go for the cheesesteaks, Nate?
well, we always got cheesesteaks down by the pier. What's the street by the pier?
Bassiunk.
And that's the name of the street?
Bassiunk Avenue.
South Street. Is it South Street?
South Street. Yeah, South Street.
Yeah, South Street. We always ended up from Broad over to South. Much younger in our journeys, and we could handle the excitement much better than we can now. But it's been a while since I've been to Philadelphia, and another truth I'll tell you, Travis, is I hadn't heard of the Mural Arts program until you had mentioned it to me and reached out to these nice folks. And so for me, I was excited to go over and see this stuff, and I'm really glad we got a chance to do that.
I was excited to outreach too. I mean, it was this is such a unique program, and I think the listeners will really appreciate learning about how this Mural Arts program in Philadelphia is inspiring mural arts programs all over the world. And they really are a blueprint for what can be done. And what I was blown away by, which I didn't know before we took this tour, was this was part of an entire program aimed at cleaning up graffiti in the city. And taking something that we, historically, when you think about graffiti, it had a negative connotation to it. Now I look at graffiti completely differently.
Yeah. What a great way to handle it, too. Like, spin it into something positive.
Absolutely. I mean, the way they phrase it, they talk about this concept about participatory art. They talk about this with great pride and great passion. And it really is participatory art because the Mural Arts program is pulling in not only people that are living in the city of Philadelphia in these neighborhoods, but it's pulling in global artists for inspiration. And it's pulling in the real estate developers. It's pulling in the civic leaders. It's pulling in the community in a way that many other programs aren't able to do. And so the more that I learned about it, the deeper it reached into the very fabric of what the city was itself. I was really impressed.
Yeah, probably the reason it's still around since 1984.
1984. That's incredible. And to continue to be successful and to find new inspiration and new murals in the city and really hitting their stride, I think, at this point in time.
Yeah, what was the number of murals that are around Philadelphia? I know Marjorie, our tour guide, said it. The number escapes me. Is it 10,000? 6,000.
6,000, I think. Something around 6,000. And I think what was a lot of the murals that we had the opportunity to see were in Center City, Philadelphia. But they had talked a lot about murals that were in North Philadelphia, South Philadelphia, and in the Western and in other parts of the city. So it really could be interesting to go back again and to take another tour with an additional set of murals, I think. And that was
I would love that. Like I said, I'd never heard of it, never been there. Wasn't a bucket list item, but this is something I'm really glad we got a chance to do.
Absolutely. And I hope that the listeners will appreciate it and go and see it, because we're going to bring some interesting information on this episode. We've had some great conversations with Chad and Medina, and Marjorie's tour was absolutely fantastic. But really what we hope to do is to light a fire under you, to go out there, to see these murals, to engage with them, to go to the city and interact with the people and the businesses and talk to them about the murals and see how they hit you. I know they hit me in a very, very personal way, and I want to know how they hit you.
What was your favorite mural?
Garden Delight. Garden Delight spoke to me in a way that was so transcendental, really. It was stepping out of the urban jungle for a second to just be calm and to look at the mural and to look at the various colors on the wall and to really feel like I was somewhere else. I was transported into a different place as I looked at the mural, and the garden in front of it seemed to continue on into the mural all the way up to the top of the building that we were looking at. And the way that we stepped aside, didn't it seem like all the noise of the buses and the taxis and everybody in the city, it seemed to just melt away, didn't it?
Oh yeah. I was going to say, because we were recording audio and there was a massive amount of noise in Center City, near our hotel, near the convention center, near the Reading Market. There was a massive amount of noise. People, police cars, just general street noise. We turned that corner, and I don't know the name of the street that Garden Delight is on. I'll have to go back and look. But we turned that corner, and I think you commented, you're like, it's like we're in a different place, because it really got super quiet.
I felt like we could have been in a park in the countryside, the way we stepped out and we were able to sit there.
Easily, we could have been somewhere in north central Pennsylvania.
Absolutely.
Easily.
Absolutely.
Well, Travis, I have a clip from whenever we were at Garden Delight, and I'm going to play it for us now.
Okay, here's a sweet mural called Garden of Delight. And it's painted by David Gwynn, who is one of those artists I refer to as we go to them time and time again. And when you get familiar with his style, which is vaguely pointillist, actually, you can usually pick out his murals as you're going about the city. He did a wonderful series of the 4 seasons in different locations. So one's summer, one's spring, one's fall, one's winter. This is a garden that is managed by, oh, look at the size of that sunflower there, holy moly, by the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society. And they work with Mural Arts on a number of projects, and I'll tell you more about some of those later. He kind of wanted it to look like this garden was just going off into the distance. And he made a point of painting the row houses over there on the left because he wanted to emphasize that, yes, it's possible to have vegetation in the city, and that it's a good thing to have that. So there's, and he wanted it to look like watercolor. Now, of course, you can't paint in watercolor on an exterior mural. So he figured out how to thin the paint in just enough to give it sort of that watercolor look.
All right. Well, that was really interesting information about the Garden of Delight. Trav, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that my favorite one of this whole tour was the very first one we saw, and that's Untitled. And, you know, not really seeing all the murals yet. And for it being the first one that we saw, or that I saw, I was really impressed with it just for its simplicity. You know, basically it's a black and white young woman with a yellow hat or a gold hat on a blue background. For me, it was high fashion. It was just in the right place at the right time, I guess. All the other murals for me were very, very good, but very, very busy. This one was just so simplistic that I think it was my favorite one of the whole tour.
This mural, I mean, Nate, I see what you're saying. I mean, when you come around the corner and you see Untitled, it pops. It really hits you hard. And you stop in your tracks. Wow, maybe this is the first mural you've seen. But this mural is very, very crisp in terms of the lines that they use and the way that it explodes out to the viewer. And it's right on Sansom Street. So you're in this main thoroughfare of the city of Philadelphia, and you come around the corner and boom, there it is. It actually is very enchanting. And Amy Sherrill, the artist, really did a good job to put this on such a unique building as well, because when you come around the corner, you see this mural. Adjacent to it, directly across the street, is a traditional building with graffiti on the outside that has not been polished, has not been turned into a mural. And what I felt like this helped me understand was the evolution of the Mural Arts program from 1984 to where we are today, in the sense of they took raw graffiti and put together something that is so beautiful and so lasting in a Mural Arts program. And this is the part of the tour where we really got the opportunity to learn a little bit about parachute paper and how the parachute paper is used to place the murals onto these structures in such a lasting way. I was fascinated by that, the entire way that this works.
Yeah, the way Marjorie explained it was it's kind of just paint by numbers. They lay out these sheets or these tabs, and anybody who can paint, a kid or a non-artist or anybody can paint the color on the predetermined piece of polytab, and then when they hang them up, it's a huge mural, and it is a stark contrast to the rattle can graffiti that we saw across the street as we approached this one. And you even actually commented to Marjorie, you're like, now Marjorie, that obviously is not a mural arts mural, but it is traditional graffiti. And she was a little disgusted by it, but did a good job of hiding it.
But it also helped us to understand some of the conversation later on that we had with the Mural Arts team, with Chad and Medina, when they were talking about the essence of taggers and sort of how this all comes to be and how graffiti came about, what it's used for, how it can be molded into really something very telling and very specific to an emotion or a feeling of that particular artist in that particular place and time. And this is when he started to talk a little bit about, I'm referring to Chad, he talked a little bit about Philadelphia, the world's largest outdoor art gallery. And when he said that, it stopped me dead in my tracks. And the first thing I thought about was this particular mural, was Untitled. The raw graffiti on one side, this masterpiece on the other. It really brought it home for me.
I'm going to go ahead and play a clip now of Marjorie on our tour, and this is about Untitled.
This is called Untitled, and it's by Amy Sherrill. If you have ever heard of her, but even if you haven't, you probably know her work. She came into public consciousness when she did the official portrait of Michelle Obama, which was very unlike previous official portraits, but people came to know her. This was a result of something called the Art Education Program, which is one of the things that Mural Arts is involved in. They go into schools and do after-school programming and summertime programming, or they are there during the actual school day. There are some schools around the city that have been the beneficiaries of the Eagle charitable organization. They pay for artists to go in and do classes with the kids, and they talk to the kids, what would you like to have in your mural? And the end product is a mural that wraps all the way around the school, that is just full of childlike drawings and very professional drawings. And on one beautiful day in the spring, with all the volunteers and the children and their parents, the night before, the elves have put up cloth all the way around, and we get up there and we paint it, and it comes to life. And then at about noon, a big bus pulls around that disgorges football players, and the kids go nuts. And it's a wonderful, wonderful day. So that's an example of what they do in the art education program. This one happened to be a number of students who were interested in art who worked with her. She lived here temporarily and had a studio. And this young woman, her name is Naji, and she was chosen to be in this portrait. And she was shy about it and not sure that was what she wanted to do. And she was persuaded by Amy Sherrill that, you're worth it. Let's paint this mural of you. and she just looks calmly and fairly directly at you, and you can imagine what she might be saying. What you looking at, or I'm okay, what's wrong with you, or whatever the case may be. It's a stunning mural, and it's relatively new.
The thing that I like about this is Marjorie talked a little bit about putting yourself in the place of the artist, trying to understand what the inspiration of the artist was, but also then stepping back a little bit and putting yourself into the eye of the beholder as well, and trying to think about when she says, what was she thinking? What was she doing at the time? What was the emotion that was happening throughout that? That to me is art, the essence of art. And to be able to do this outdoors in a city is so different than what most people are familiar with, which is going to an art gallery, looking at a piece of art on a wall and having that experience. This is altogether different, because this could be going about your day, stopping and observing the art. You're having a regular human experience that you can take a break from by spending time engaging with this art.
For you, it evoked this massive amount of emotions. For me, it was just the simplicity. It was maybe the lack of emotion, and Marjorie talks about, Najee and her facial expression. I look at that and I just see a lack of emotion, a lack of, of what for, basically, like, no more F's to give, as it were. Very powerful.
So powerful. And I think it was neat for her to talk a little bit about the artist and the fact that she had done the portrait of Michelle Obama, who is a figure that everyone can really understand and they are aware of, a very popular figure, somebody who is front and center in today's, cultural climate. And for this person, for Amy Sherrill to be featured so prominently with this mural right in the center of Philadelphia, it's exciting. It speaks volumes for where this mural arts program has gotten. And it makes me think about the future of the program and really the sky being the limit. How many more murals are under development? How many more will be done? Will artists continue to push each other to think about life and think about representing it through art differently? I think it opens many questions, many of which are enriching the city.
So in this same parking lot, right immediately across from Untitled is the mural called Promise of Biotechnology. And I think that is on the side of the hospital. Travis, am I wrong about that?
I believe that's correct.
I know the hospital was right in that same area, the block. I know as we were standing there, a bunch of doctors and what looked like nurses were outside on their break, it looked like, or just getting some fresh air from their rounds or from doing hospital things. But this is a very nice painting too, or a very nice mural as well. There's a lot happening in this mural.
The more you look at it, the more that jumps out to you. At first, I was really fixated on where it shows you an infant, and you see this infant's evolution and growth into being a teenager, a young man, a middle-aged man, an old man. But then what is so incredible that it draws your eye is you see this young woman in the top left of the mural. And in the top left of the mural, you see her opening a textbook. And directly below her, I was pondering, is it the same woman or girl that we see reading the textbook that is also now in the OR scrubs with the mask on, helping with biotechnology and helping to make the world a better place? We see this evolution and engagement. And the more you glance at this mural, the more that really becomes clear to you as you start to look at the evolution of civilization as well, from molecules all the way up to full blown humanity and structures. It was a very deep, deep mural. What did you think?
Yeah, there's a lot happening here. And Trav, I just have to point out, you had mentioned the fetus into the baby, into the child, into the man, into the old man. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4 more old men. The first old man is in a cane, walking with a cane, and then by the last old man, he's not walking with a cane anymore. And I think that's the biotech part of this, where technology prolongs our life and helps us to live a more fulfilling and fruitful, if not pain-free life, if that makes sense.
And what's fascinating about that mural is it's directly behind the mural we just spoke on, which was Untitled.
Yeah, they face each other. They're basically in the same parking lot.
So you see the first one, and you turn around, and then you see this. There's a lot there. There's a lot to think about. It was a really powerful stop on the tour.
Yeah, if you check out the blog associated with this podcast, you'll see this picture, and you'll also see the wall of graffiti that was rattle can graffiti that we talked about earlier. It's also in this picture. And there's a stark contrast in quality and design. All right, so let me play a clip of Marjorie talking about the promise of biotechnology.
So this is called the Promise of Biotechnology. Philadelphia is just crammed with research and hospital working with all of these things. And it celebrates a number of ways that this has been a benefit to humanity. And we have here this little floral thing just bragging about some of the achievements that were made here in Philadelphia. Some of these slogans at the bottom were contributed by people who consider that they have been helped by biotechnology. We have the genetic codes up here. And this is interesting. This is really supposed to represent a little bit what the promise of biotechnology is about. We go from conception to the fetus to the baby and so on and so forth. And as the man gets older, he's getting more and more hunched. But then he's walking more erect and he doesn't have a cane. And, we're not going to say that it's the fountain of youth exactly, but the promise of biotechnology could make his life more livable. And towards the end with that beam of light, that's, very, very symbolic of, yes, light, we're going to have hope, we're going to have light. And I particularly enjoy that we want to show that people are studying, that they have someone who very clearly seems to be a girl reading the science book, as women have been for decades, if not centuries, extremely underrepresented in this kind of work. So it's, hope to inspire some of the girls. Any more questions about this one?
Well, Trav, we turned the corner on Spruce Street, and immediately we were all in awe of what seemingly was the biggest, most complex mural on the tour so far. I mean, there were a lot of busy murals that we saw, but this one was very, very complex in not only the subject matter, but also in the detail of the mural. I don't really have any more words than that. I don't know how to describe more than this. I think maybe we just let Marjorie tell us more about it. And the mural that we're talking about is Pride in Progress.
Pride in Progress, done by an artist named Anne Northrup. And coming at it from this direction, you can sort of see the progress happening. Here's a couple of men on a kind of a dark back street, feeling that they can't meet in public places. Here's a march, the first march for gay rights, which back then we called homosexual rights. The woman holding the sign that says support homosexual civil rights, her name is Barbara Gidding, and one of the streets we passed was renamed Barbara Gidding's Way.
It's amazing how it's taking us through the historical evolution.
Yes. So this mural was done in 2003, which, feels like an eon ago. We go from here to, we're just out having a good time, There's couples, some of them have children, some of them are flamboyantly dressed, some of them are not. And it's just kind of normalizing that this kind of partnering is something that shouldn't be so hard to accept. And she expected to get nasty comments while it was being painted. And she said, no, the community was very supportive. Unsurprising, because it's painted on the William Way Community Center, which was a community center for, LGBTQ folks who could come and be in a safe space. They were doing AIDS testing in advance of everybody else, and counseling, and all of that. It still is used for purposes of that type, but also, spaces are open to the community if they want to put on a show or book a meeting or something like that. They can use the rooms that are in there.
Marjorie said it. I can't say it better than that, but what an amazing painting, or an amazing mural, and what an amazing celebration of a lifestyle that me personally, I don't know much about, but I'm 100% in support of. So I'm glad she got to share this with us.
And like she said, it's acceptance, and it shouldn't be so hard to accept. And the struggle that people have gone through, it's respected in this mural and explained. Yeah. The taste of summer just drives home so many beautiful evenings that I've had in Philadelphia, and Marjorie couldn't have said it any better. The combination of food and wine with people you love is really one of the best things you can do in life. She said that. She said it beautifully. I have had many nights like that in Philadelphia, and I hope our listeners will, and I hope they'll continue to visit this great city for the beautiful art, but also the food and the culture and a little bit of wine.
Okay, Taste of Summer. So this is a kind of fantasy landscape that includes Tuscany and Lancaster, Pennsylvania. We have an Amish fellow with an ox there and another one driving it, and this emphasizes that he likes local, seasonal ingredients for his food. But then he has these people sitting on, if I could do the Mary Poppins thing and jump into a mural, I would pick this one absolutely. The combination of wonderful food and wine and people you like is, I think, one of the best things you can do while you're alive. So he had this painted, Taste of Summer. There's Mark over there bringing a big cauldron of something. And while she was painting, she got to know the parking lot attendant, and let's be careful, there are cars coming in. But she got to know the parking lot attendant and talked to him, and he's from the Dominican Republic, and he's trying to make enough money to bring his family, and he especially misses his little girl. She got a picture of his little girl and put her up there so he could look up every day and see his little girl.
We just looked at and just talked about the taste of summer and all that family time and the eating time, and the next mural we saw was kind of the foundation, or the people who make this happen, and that's women. And the mural we saw was Progress of Women. What a beautiful mural! A lot happening in this mural. There's a lot of different representations of women and how they have been portrayed through the years, I guess, and that was something that Marjorie pointed out. What really struck me was the mask, and I think, Travis, you asked about the mask during this, and it never even dawned on me until Marjorie said that women wear masks in everyday life, and not just wearing makeup, but they have to be a mom, they have to be a leader, they have to be a worker, or whatever they're in, and women have to be multifaceted. And this mural, I think, really depicts a good portion of that. I know as men standing here looking at this, and I know Travis commented on it, he was just interested in what the airplanes represented.
That was the only part of the mural that didn't make any sense. I was thinking maybe an Amelia Earhart theme, but that was quickly shot down.
I interpreted that as because I think there were different eras of time represented in this mural, and I took that as to represent maybe like a World War II era, where the men were off at war, and there's a woman, she's there scrubbing the floor, so she's taking care of business while the men are off creating destruction. Because it's the only but that's the only part of the mural that's red. So to me, that says that the men are off creating destruction. But that's just my interpretation of it. But we can let Marjorie talk a little bit more about that.
Good thing. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about this mural here, Progress of Women. It's painted on the side of what used to be the New Century Guild, which was sort of like started shortly after the centennial in 1876. And it was sort of a settlement house for women almost, that they could come here during they were working in all these factories down here and being harassed by their bosses, and they could come here and have noon rest and have lunchtime that wasn't, they were not going to have to worry about being disturbed. Mr. Drexel of Drexel University provided teachers to provide education for them. So it was a good organization. So we have all these women, and they're supposed to be, at least suggesting all the kinds of things that women can do, including be a police officer or a surgeon or an opera singer. Eliza Sproat Turner is the woman who founded it. She's the woman at the top in the purple cape and the scales. There are a few real people here. Beverly Sills, the opera singer. If you keep going down, the woman in beige with the hat, she's sitting with a child on her lap. That's Eleanor Roosevelt. And we keep coming around. The very pregnant woman with a child on her hip is Meg Seligman, who did the mural that we're going to see next. So one of her assistants, Cesar Viveros, got the commission for this, and he wanted to thank his mentor by putting her in here.
Marjorie makes a lot of good points in there, and a lot of things that we had covered. I looking back on this, I think a lot of those thoughts were put in my head as I was standing in front of this mural and listening to Marjorie talk. But what a powerful mural. Again, folks, if you haven't been to Philadelphia to see these murals, please do yourself a favor. Plan a trip to Philadelphia, stay in City Center, book a tour, ask for Marjorie, and just do it. I know, I think we're going to talk about one more mural, but I just wanted to get that in there, Trav, just because
Absolutely.
It's such a powerful tour. And I think this whole thing took us an hour and a half, less than an hour and a half. And now we had a special tour with Marjorie, so she showed us a couple of extra murals versus what's on her normal walking tour in City Center. So we kind of got the gold treatment, if you will.
There's really no better way to intimately interact with the city and the art and the culture of it. It really is unique. And as Nate said, get to Philadelphia, learn about these murals, and enjoy them. Enjoy them immensely.
Yeah, and with that, I think we'll roll right into the last one, Philadelphia Muses. I don't remember this mural because it was near the end of the tour and I was busy taking pictures, so I haven't even gone back to look at all the pictures yet. I'm actually going to pull one up now. Which one was? I don't even know which one it is. But here it is, folks. Philadelphia Muses.
All right. The mural coming up on now is called Philadelphia Muses. Takes inspiration from the Greek muses of mythology, the muse of dance, the muse of music, history. There's a muse of history named Cleo. And she doesn't do a one-for-one connection with these, but it certainly inspired her to think about where does creativity come from? How are we going to do this? This is by Meg Seligman with some assistance, and you can see her little attribution down there in the lower right-hand corner. And this is a big public favorite. It was very badly fading, and they were thinking of just deaccessioning it altogether. But in 2012, someone turned them onto a kind of solution that if they painted it over the one that was already there, it just brought the colors back out. It was amazing. It was just an incredible discovery that they could do that, and the colors are very vibrant. The people in it some of them were dancers with Philadelphia who were posing, and the rest of them were members of the Philadelphia Theater Company. We have the muse of words, we have the muse of dance, we have the muse of music. I love the little guys whose bodies are string instruments. And this kind of thing that looks like a bubblegum machine is supposed to be the soul of inspiration. That these things are going to come out and they're going to come into the world and they're going to inspire you. And she's very big on spheres. She loves spheres. Why? Because spheres rarely exist in nature. If something is spherical, it was probably made by a human being. So that is how she gives credit to that. Spheres and circles, and she even has a geometric compass down there in the lower left-hand corner. If you want to draw a circle, you can make it very precise. Takes us all back to 9th grade geometry, doesn't it? so there is that. The bricks around this are all painted on. It's a flat surface, but they're painted on, creating a trompe-l'oeil effect that it's three-dimensional, that it's part of the building that it's next to. And we'll see another.
That's a great piece.
Yeah, well, people
really
love it.
is.
When people hear that I do mural arts, they say, oh, what's that mural at 13th and Locust? I mean, I get that a lot.
The colors in this particular mural are very vibrant, much more vibrant than perhaps some of the murals that we had walked through.
Yeah, what did she say about that? That they painted over it 2 times and it made the colors more vibrant?
She did. And what I also thought she spent time talking about, that the bricks on here are painted specifically to look like bricks.
As she said that, I'm looking at this picture and I'm like, geez, they are painted on there. And as we were standing in front of that, it looked like a brick building.
You really did. That's what
On
I
the-
thought.
on the
didn't
day of.
understand. At first, I couldn't tell the difference between the bricks that you would use to construct the building versus the bricks that were represented in the mural for art purposes.
Yeah, I think she mentioned that one other time, maybe at a
She
different
did.
mural.
My
the
depth of
bricks were-
mural onlooking was not as quite as developed at that moment. Nate, the thing is, what struck me as I was gawking at this mural in total overwhelm is the thought about how this mural arts program weaves art education, environmental justice, and restorative justice, and all of these unique pillars of the urban experience. They come to light through this journey through the murals. So that's the thing the listeners really need to understand, is that these murals are creating opportunities for people in the city. They're creating an outlet for emotion in the city. They're creating an opportunity for people to look at this city in a different way, in a different light, and experience it in such a way that elevates their experience to the next level, to a higher level. And really, as I was walking through these murals and thinking through how have I interacted with Philadelphia in the past, it's significantly enhanced in how I'll interact with it in the future. And a big reason for that is these murals and the people who brought them to be.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Passport, Pennsylvania. To learn more about Mural Arts Philadelphia, visit muralarts.org. If you like this episode, please consider subscribing to Passport Pennsylvania and leave us a 5-star rating. Be sure to recommend us to friends and family. To see photos of the murals that we visited on our walking tour, visit passportpodcasts.com. If you'd like to support us, please consider visiting shop.passportpodcasts.com and picking up some of our merch. The interview in this episode was conducted by Travis Breen. Editing on this episode was done by Nathan Black. This episode was produced by Passport Podcasts LLC. Be sure to follow us on social media at Passport Pennsylvania.